Dawn arrives softly in the jungle. It is said that before the sun fully rises, the world becomes a half-dream. Mist clinging to leaves, water holding the sky in pale reflection, and stone waking slowly from night. In that hour, the jungle does not roar. It breathes. It exhales cool air through vines and roots, as if the earth itself is remembering. And then, through the mist, towers appear. Not suddenly, not loudly. They emerge like shapes behind a veil, and as they do, it feels as if the stone is breathing out pale light. Corridors stretch beneath them, long, calm passages that feel like rivers made solid. Doorways open like quiet mouths. Steps rise like a patient invitation. The air is damp and still, scented with wet moss and ancient dust. Beneath the silence, where memory fades, Angkor waits. The crystal steps of Angkor's hidden measure. The title holds a secret in its mouth. Crystal suggests clarity, but also fragility. It suggests something cut with precision, something that catches light at certain angles, something that can shatter without warning. Steps suggest ascent, ritual movement, a slow climbing towards something sacred. And hidden measure suggests an unseen system, an order that is not immediately obvious, but felt in the way everything aligns. Water with stone, season with temple, kingdom with cosmos. To speak of Angkor is to speak of scale. Not merely the scale of buildings, but the scale of intention. A sacred city woven into the land, where worship and engineering are not separate things, but the same breath expressed in different forms. It is said that Angkor was once the heart of an empire. Khmer kings ruling a landscape of rice fields and rivers, roads and reservoirs, temples and processions. A civilization that understood, with deep intimacy, that water is destiny. That a kingdom is not only held by soldiers and laws, but by canals, by storage, by the steady turning of seasons. And yet the jungle has its own patience. It grows quietly. It forgets with leaves. So the story of Angkor begins with wonder and ends with green silence. An immense city fading as if swallowed whole. We begin with curiosity, walking slowly beneath carved faces and moonlit galleries. Imagine approaching Angkor Wat before sunrise. The sky is still dark, a dusk blue bowl. The moat lies smooth and black, holding the first hint of light. The temple's silhouette rises beyond the water, a crown of stone against the fading stars. Even before you step inside, you feel it. This is not only architecture, it is a map. Not a map of roads and borders, but a map of meaning. In forgotten corners of the earth, many cultures imagine the world as layered. Earth beneath, sky above, and sacred mountains at the center holding it all in balance. In the Khmer imagination, temples were not merely places to gather. They were mirrors of the cosmic mountain, Mount Meru, the axis around which the universe turns. Like a towers of Angkor rise the galleries circle like concentric worlds. The moat becomes a boundary between ordinary life and ritual space, like an ocean encircling creation. Historical context arrives like a prayer. Kings as stewards of cosmic order. Not kings as mere rulers of people, but kings as keepers of harmony between land and sky. The right rituals, the right alignments, the right offerings. These were believed to matter. To misstep was not simply political, it was cosmic. A kingdom could falter if the balance between water, earth and heaven was not honored. And so Angkor feels arranged, deliberate. Even the long causeways, raised paths stretching across water and earth, feel like ceremonial veins. They guide the body forward, straightening the mind, narrowing attention until all that remains is temple, breath, and silence. Within the galleries, bas-reliefs cover the walls like frozen echoes. Scenes of gods and battles, celestial dances and churning oceans, carved into stone with a precision that makes the figures seem to move when torchlight flickers. It is said that if you walk slowly along these walls, the carvings become a river of story. Your eyes travel, your breath settles, and the stone seems to speak without sound. Inspections hums beneath the carvings. Because the scale is immense, the engineering precise, and still the city faded into green silence as if the jungle swallowed a secret whole. How does a place like this, so carefully made, become abandoned? Imagine the jungle beginning to return. Not as an invader, but as a caretaker with different priorities. Roots find cracks. Moss softens edges. Vines hang like curtains. Trees rise where processions once passed. Stone faces, serene, vast, watching, remain in place as leaves brush past them. Angkor Thom, with its gates and towers, holds those famous carved faces that look in all directions at once. They are calm. They are unreadable. They do not seem angry at abandonment. They simply watch, as if they have always watched, as if time is just another passing cloud. There is a feeling here, like hearing distant chanting that cannot be answered. You can imagine the sound, low voices, drums, the rhythm of feet on stone, the splash of oars on water. But when you listen now, there is only wind through leaves and the drip of water from a root. The city does not speak in words anymore. It speaks in atmosphere, flooring, in silence. And still, it holds its measure, because the stones remain where they were placed. The towers still catch dawn. The moats still hold water. The bas-reliefs still tell their stories to anyone patient enough to walk slowly and read with their eyes. Pedestrians is why the steps feel like crystal. Not because they shine like glass, but because they hold a delicate order. An order that survived, even when the living world that sustained it changed. Now we arrive at the final reflection, and we let it settle like mist over water. We stand at an ancient basin. The water is still. It holds the reflection of a broken statue, a leaning pillar, a strip of pale sky. Leaves float on the surface like small boats. Somewhere, a frog calls once, then falls silent. The jungle listens. Beneath the silence, where memory fades, you can sense the presence of what once was. Processions along causeways, offerings at altars, the quiet authority of a king who believed he was responsible for the harmony of the universe. But the basin does not confirm any of it. It only reflects. Still water is a kind of mirror, and the title speaks of measure. A measured world once lived here, calibrated to seasons and belief. Now the measure is different. The jungle measures time in growth. The stones measure time in endurance. The water measures time in ripples. Angkor does not ask to be solved. It asks to be witnessed. Perhaps it was never meant to be held forever by human hands. Perhaps it was always meant to return to green silence, so that its sacred geometry could be softened by vines, so that its stories could become whispers instead of declarations. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. Tonight, the echo is gentle. A corridor like a calm river made solid. A tower breathing out pale light. A basin of still water holding the sky. Plumbing this listening. The stones remaining, holding their hidden measure. waiting for no one. How does an empire tuned to water and ritual unravel? We do not rush the answer. We let the question sink like a pebble into still water, making soft rings of thought. Deep exploration unfolds in layers, like mist lifting one veil at a time. First, the water. Angkor is not only a temple complex. It is a landscape of reservoirs, canals, moats, and embankments. An entire system that suggests a living machine. Not a machine of metal and gears, but a machine of earth and water, shaped by hands that understood flow and storage, drought and abundance. The Barais, massive reservoirs, lie like inland seas. Their edges are straight, their scale vast, as if the Khmer attempted to hold the monsoon itself in stone-lined patience. Canals connect water to fields. Moats protect temples while also stabilizing ground and controlling saturation. Some believe Angkor's greatness was inseparable from this waterwork, that the empire flourished because it could manage the unpredictable rhythm of rains, saving water in wet times, feeding fields in dry times. Rice is not only food, it is time made edible. It is the season's success made visible. So Angkor's hidden measure may be, at its heart, a measure of water, a calibration of life, a covenant with the monsoon. Bilingual does not obey forever. Flooring that are too finely tuned can become fragile, like crystal. We move to the second layer, the quiet discipline of stone. Angkor's temples were built with precision. Blocks fitted and stacked, towers aligned, doorways framed with careful symmetry. The city's geometry feels intentional, as if built to harmonize with sun and season. It is said that certain alignments matter here. Sunrise at equinox, the way light falls through corridors, the way towers catch dawn like a blessing. Even without exact knowledge, you can feel it. This place is oriented toward the sky. It watches the sun's return. It holds shadow in certain chambers like a sacred liquid. This is the intertwining of water and worship, bankrupt. Because in Angkor, the sacred is not separate from survival. To honor the gods is also to honor the rains. To build a temple is also to stabilize land. To carve a story in stone is also to anchor meaning in a world shaped by flood and drought. Now the third layer, the mystery of collapse. Here we speak softly. We do not dramatize. We do not turn unraveling into spectacle. We treat it as a slow fading, like chanting heard from far away until it becomes indistinguishable from wind. Phantom? Was it drought? Some believe shifting climate patterns brought longer dry seasons, weakening the reservoir system. A machine built to manage normal rhythms could falter when the rhythm changed. Canal silt up, embankments strain. Water arrives differently, and the old measure no longer fits. Was it conflict? Flushing. Empires breathe in cycles. Borders shift. Rivals rise. Trade routes change like rivers in flood. A city can remain magnificent and still lose its political heart to new centers elsewhere. Was it shifting rivers? Huntington courses are alive. They migrate. They carve new paths. If the landscape changes, the infrastructure must change too, or become a relic. Or was it the slow veil of time itself? Maintenance neglected, ritual disrupted, leadership altered, the sacred center gradually becoming less necessary. We do not choose a single answer. We let the possibilities sit beside one another like candles in a dark hall. The implied forbidden knowledge is not a hidden weapon or a secret scroll. It is the quieter realization that a civilization can be tuned like an instrument. Beautiful, precise, resonant. and still be vulnerable. That harmony depends on rhythms staying true. And when the rhythms change, even a vast city can lose its song. This is where hidden measure becomes more than engineering. It becomes philosophy. Angkor may have been a temple city calibrated to nature's cycles. Its waterworks, its alignments, its rituals, everything working together like strings on a lyre. And if the monsoon faltered, if the river shifted, if the political world changed, the instrument fell out of tune. Not with a single crack, with a slow, quiet drifting. So the emotional arc moves from wonder into gentle sorrow, because there is something tender about a civilization that does not explode, but fades. A city that becomes quieter year by year. A corridor walked less often. A reservoir reflecting fewer torches. A gallery where dust gathers in the corners of carved stories.